yesterday I was scrolling through Twitter and kind of taking a look at a few different clips, things that are going on within the Call of Duty scene, and I ran past a very interesting one that came in from the NRG Duo Podcast that Hecz and Andy Miller do over at NRG. And it was a pretty interesting clip that I got to hear because it was Hecz essentially talking on the transfer of Dashie from free agency now here to the Huntsmen. And to kind of put it lightly, and we'll roll the clip, essentially he talks on how he spoke with Dashie before the signing, talked with him and his mom kind of regarding professionalism, regarding what is kind of this stigma around Dashie in terms of his professionalism, being late to practice, etc. So we'll get into it, but before we do that, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
But, you know, with the rumors of last year of Dashy being late, I made it a point to speak to him and his mom at the same time and explain to them the situation, right? Like, this is a franchise league in which, millions and tens of millions of dollars are going in as an investment. So it's a more professional league, and we expect everybody to be professionals. More than ever, Brandon needs to prove himself, not just to the fans or his teammates, but more importantly to me. God damn it, okay? I'm not going to put up with no bullshit of I'm late or this is why I'm late. Like, even today when we were doing the content, if somebody wouldn't have shown up, there would have been some cash missing from their paychecks because, you know, it's time to grow up. I mean, it's been time, but now it's like it's time for me to grow up and actually put some repercussions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, first off, I'm actually a really big fan of this. I think that it was initially great to hear about the perspective, kind of about the I guess kind of behind the curtain conversation that we get to hear that Hecz clearly had with Dashie and Dashie's mom. I think that it's incredibly important that Hecz has kind of made it a point to speak with Dashie regarding on this particular conversation, which is now kind of, at the moment, kind of stained his stake, if you will, in the Call of Duty scene. Because again, after the Optic Gaming situation, I'll say this. The bullet points that we had about Dashie after Black Ops 4 in comparison to the bullet points that we have after Modern Warfare are totally different, right? After Black Ops 4, it was, hey, one of the best players in the game, kind of potentially the new face of Optic moving forward. Obviously, we know that Optic would kind of change hands. You get my point, right? Could be the next superstar, has the ability to be the face of the league. And then now after Modern Warfare, the bullet points are not dedicated, didn't show up for practice, not a great teammate, didn't play at champs. And I've said this before, it is crazy to me to think about the progression from just one season, right? Just 1 year, we go from one of the biggest faces of the league, one of the most talented young players in the entire world, to then not playing at champs the next year. And again, that is not in any way a shot at Optic, because I think it was the best decision for them to make. But internally, it is odd to think about that from 1 year to the next, we have such a dramatic transition for this player in Dashie. So I think that it is a very important thing that Hecz has already made it a point to go out there to speak to Dashie regarding these claims, because it's come from a few different sources, right? It's come from Slasher. It has come from Kenny in a most recent video where Kenny has gone on to talk on his time teaming with Dashie on Optic and how it was kind of difficult because he knew that Brandon didn't want to be with the Huntsman. It was very clear, which I think was probably the worst thing for this Optic team. It was very clear that Dashie didn't want to be on this team, and the players knew that, right? They knew that he wanted to be over in Chicago, and I'm not sure if that was something of Optic not getting the deal done, if Chicago not getting the deal done. Regardless, the team got off on the wrong foot, and so I think regardless of what took place over in Optic, which obviously you can take the claims and obviously assume those the way that you'd like. I personally trust guys like Kenny and Slasher to speak normally on it, especially when Kenny kind of got a chance to dive in. He seemed to give a lot of very excellent points and talked on a number of different things. And so I think it's very important that Hecz has already addressed this before signing Dashie, talking to him and saying, hey, listen, this isn't going to fly, right? And Hecz brought up a great point in terms of franchising, because I think that franchising has caught a lot of people off guard. I think it's caught players off guard in terms of the way that things are different now. Because whenever you switch from, this system that has existed for so long, I mean, you look at the infancy of Call of Duty esports and to now where we are, you've had such a long period in which everything was the way that it had been for such a long time, right? You had roster changes that worked out the same way, player deals and player relationships with organizations, and how those don't really have a whole lot of lasting potential in the way that players would act in terms of scrimmages. Like I said, this year, in franchising in general, it doesn't fly, right? It's not going to fly anymore because there is so much money invested that there is no room for error in a lot of situations, right? This year alone, look at how many franchises changed the entirety of the landscape behind their team, right? A number of different franchises said, you know what, we're axing the entire thing, right? And obviously there's a number of different reasons for why that's the case. We talk about 4v4, there's a number of different things that you can look at as for the reason why. But hey, these franchises are realizing what's in front of them, right? They realize the opportunity that could be there. And so I think that it's important for Hecz to address this, because it is important to let Dashie realize, hey, listen, we realize the potential that you have, right? We realize the potential that you have as a player. And I think that it's important he addresses this, because if he doesn't, then this could be possibly one of Dashie's last chances of being in a pro spot. And I will say, now that millions of dollars are on the line and all those things, I think that it is unbelievably important for Dashie to make sure that this season is a solid one here for the Huntsman, because you have to consider the fact that, again, situation after Optic, not in a great spirit, right? After we've made a number of different content pieces talking on Dashie now with the Huntsman, a lot of people have made it known, hey, I don't think this is a good move. I don't think it's a good move because of the work ethic. I don't think it's a good move because of the practice problems that we could see. And so if you're looking at this from a future perspective, Dashie is getting what he wants, right? And it is a sign of respect and a sign of realization for the Huntsman that they are willing to pick up a player that has issues with practicing, who has issues with showing up on time, taking the job serious, according to what people have spoken about. That is the ultimate sign of high praise that the Chicago Huntsman, one of the, if not the biggest brand in terms of fan engagement, all those things, one of the biggest brands in the CDL, is willing to go for a player that has had these issues. And the reason why is because of the talent that lies behind it. And Hecz went on to say, throughout this kind of snippet, Dashie needs to prove himself to the fans, to his teammates, and to Hector himself. He does have some proving to do, right? After this season on Optic, does not play at champs, does not have great kind of stats all season long, constantly transferred from one role to the next. And that Optic Gaming team was supposed to be something special, right? As much as people want to go out there and talk on, oh, that Optic Gaming team, oh, that was supposed to be a top 6. No, right? That was supposed to be the best team in the CDL, right? From an on-paper perspective, even with JCap in the lineup, which I know you talk on JCap and everyone likes to freak out, but that team on paper was supposed to be one of, if not the scariest teams in the Call of Duty League. And the main reason for why is because of that guy Dashie, right? Along with the cast that he had around him. That team was supposed to be unbelievable. And so you look at what was supposed to be something that has turned out to not really be all that special. And that is why it's important, right, for him, because this is a proving ground for him. While he does get an excellent opportunity to join here on the Chicago Huntsman, he is with players that he likes. He is with a fan base that he wants to be with. And he's with an owner that he likes as well. He is getting the best situation possible. And now we come to this point where it is almost a choice of whether or not you are going to blow up this opportunity or if you are going to seize the opportunity. Because again, you are going from one level to the ultimate highest one. And if you can't prove yourself there, stock is instantly going to fall. Now, his stock has risen since he's joined the Chicago Huntsman because clearly the team wants him. I was under the impression that he was most likely going to go to the Chicago Huntsman, despite what a lot of people believe is kind of this dramatic downward spiral that he's kind of headed on throughout Modern Warfare. I was under the impression that he was going to be on the Huntsman if Aristides left. And so I think this is a great opportunity for him to change the story around him, to change the notion of what's around him. Because again, Aristides, he could have stayed with this team, right? Scott most recently talked on it. He said it was Aristides' decision, which is what I thought probably would occur. He wants to play a role that he wants to. I think Aristides wasn't happy with the environment here at the Chicago Huntsman. He wanted a change of scenery and clearly has that now on the Atlanta phase. Folks, imagine if Aristides stays. Where does Dashie go then, right? Dashie doesn't get this massive opportunity that he has now with the Huntsman. And again, I will say it, this year has to be different. Chicago Huntsmen, they realize that. Hecz, he clearly realizes that, right? And if you are as talented as Dashie is, you cannot afford to lose that because of a lack of dedication or a lack of drive. And I think that this opportunity with the Huntsmen is in fact going to work out. I do. I think that his time at Optic, for a number of different reasons, not reasons that I am in any way incentivizing or saying, hey, it's justified. Not saying that. But I think that the way that Optic Gaming team was structured didn't mesh with the personality type of someone like Dashie. Again, not saying that in any way things that he did or did not do are justified. But what I am saying is that with the camp that they have, with the kind of personality types that they have on that roster, Slasher in particular, right? They just don't mesh well. And so I think that there are a number of different reasons why that Optic Gaming team did not work this year. But I think that this group here with the Huntsmen, I think it does work out. I do. I think with the early conversations that Hecz is having, they're instantly making it transparent to him that, hey, listen, this is your chance. We realize what we are giving you and what you can give us in return. And I think their ability to, in some ways, take a chance on someone like Dashie, someone who wanted to be with this team at the start of last season, is realizing, hey, this is my opportunity. I'm getting what I want. This team trusts me. And now I have the ability to kind of rewrite what was a very, very odd last season. So I think he does have the opportunity to prove himself. And I'll be honest, I think that he does have a very, very good chance of making this work here with Chicago. Because again, you have players that he wants to be alongside. You have some great voices on this team. It is more of a laid-back personality type team in comparison to a squad like Optic. You're now in fours. I think for a number of different reasons, this team makes sense. And I know that he has a long history with TJ. I think that sometimes it is good to maybe not necessarily get out of your comfort zone, but to get a change of scenery, right? He's going to be with someone like Envoy, someone who I think that they together can be one of the best duos in the Call of Duty League today, if they have the ability to stick together. I think you have a great voice in someone like Envoy. You have an excellent duo pairing in someone like T2P, guys who can teach him how to play the game, guys who know how to harness that ability. I think this is his best chance that he's had yet to really prove himself. But it is going to be an interesting kind of talking point throughout the remainder of the season of whether or not he is going to seize the opportunity that Hecz has clearly made it a point that he has already discussed regarding professionalism, regarding things like that. It is fair to say the ball is in Dashie's court.